Well, if you find yourself in the Exchange District during the Flash Photographic Festival during the month of April, you're going to want to swing down to the 210 Gallery on Princess Street. 3 rural photographers are showcasing their works here as part of the Flash Festival's initiative to showcase more rural artists. I'm joined by the 3 artists who are with us here from the rural side of the Flash Festival. We have Susan Crawford-Young from Manitou. Hello, nice to see you.
Hi.
We also have Caley Brown with us from Brandon. Nice to see you, Caley. And then all the way from Flin Flon, Noelle Drimmie. Thank you so much for being here. Maybe, Noelle, we'll start with you. This exhibit called Where the Light Fell. What does light look like for you as you capture images up in Manitoba's north?
Yeah, well, one of the neat things about being in Manitoba's north is that we have very, very short winter days and very, very long summer days, right? And so it kind of becomes a challenge to photograph during golden hour, because golden hour can go until like 10 o'clock at night.
You're right.
Or be at 4 in the morning. So yeah, it is kind of a challenge as a photographer to kind of hit those points. So I do a lot of, I would say, my golden hour photography in the fall, where we do have a bit of a balance on the time scale there. And yeah, in Flin Flon, we have so many different kinds of landscapes, and so, you know, the light can hit the rocks, the light can go through the trees, there's so much water, like we have big wide open spaces and skies. So yeah, it's just a real pleasure to be able to do that kind of work in such a remote space. Yeah.
Caley, what does the light look like for you in Brandon, in Western Manitoba? How would you describe the light in that part of the province?
There's a lot of light that glows through a lot of pretty things that a lot of people wouldn't notice. Like, I'm a big fan of the swamp because there's a lot of big plumy things there. So light glowing through that, especially during the sunset and towards the golden hour during the evening, or light after a storm or before a storm, even the way it hits the pavement, causes kind of a very cool light that you might not notice if you weren't looking for it. So.
An example of which is actually hanging right in behind us there when you're talking about that sort of swampy sort of imagery there. It's wonderful. Now, Susan, you mentioned are from Manitou in the wonderful Pembina Hills. What kind of quality does the light take on in your part of Manitoba? Or how do you see the light?
It's bright, usually. Like there's not that many stormy days in a way. I take pictures of farm equipment up close, and I like to see the light shining through the farm equipment so that I capture it along with whatever structure is there.
So another one of those examples, right in behind us, over behind Caley there, that is one of your pieces that is hanging here.
And the light adds to the picture.
Yeah.
Makes it cheerful.
Now, what is it about farm equipment that has captured your imagination, and what is it about the way that light hits farm equipment that sort of captures your artistic eye?
It changes with the time of day and the angle of the light, and you can move around the piece of equipment and capture the exact right thing, like the thing that balances your picture, because the light has balanced it. All of a sudden, if you just move.
I'm also struck by the seeming age of the equipment that you capture. Like, this is not modern sort of farm machinery in some senses. Like, if I look at this like fan belt here on this piece as an example, like that's not necessarily something you see out in the open unless you're at like an agricultural show. What is it about older farm equipment that captures the light for you?
It's what's grown our food for centuries. And I just go out and capture what I run into, basically, because you'll find sort of farmyard, graveyard, abandoned equipment on a lot of farms, and including ours. And I just go out and walk around it and capture images.
Amazing. Caley, when I look at your images, I'm struck by one on the far wall there as an example, this incredible portrayal of the Aurora Borealis. these have such vibrant colors within them. I'm wondering if you can maybe speak to the process of how you represent light, not only in the way that you capture it, but it seems like also there's some work in the development side, perhaps, that makes that pop as much as it does.
I do some post-processing in Lightroom, so I don't do Photoshop, so to speak. Like if there's no unicorn in the photo, I'm not putting one in because I wouldn't know how.
Yeah, right.
But I do like to bring out the colors and spike up the vibrancy and saturation. So people will say, "Oh, did it really look like that?" And it does, but when you capture it with a camera, and you look at the screen, it often doesn't represent what you actually saw. So my post-processing is a little bit more than some photographers might do, but that's how I like it.
Yeah, but I mean,
So,
that's part of your own
that's
sort
what
of,
I do.
That's your own sort of artistic vision within that as well. Maybe you can speak also a little bit to when you are looking at something, because there's other images in here that you just get such sharp color contrasts within, and saturated, a very apt way to describe it. When you are seeing this light in its original form, how do you know which ones will go, okay, that would look even better once I add my sort of finishing touches to the project?
There's no thought given. I just see it, and it's like if you see something you like, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't have to look, or there's no thought process, which is partly what I love about it.
Yeah.
I'm just there and I'll see something and I just stop in my tracks.
You're just executing in the moment.
Yeah.
For you, Noelle, there's also some incredible natural imagery that you were talking about before with the light and the unique nature that it takes up north. Maybe you can walk us through what sorts of subjects you then want to take on based on the way that the light hits things in your part of the province.
Yeah, absolutely. I had said earlier to some folks that I don't drive, and so that kind of limits me in a way where it's like I can't go driving around looking for, the best light or the best, whatever at the time. So I literally just sort of step outside my backyard, and luckily there's lots of crown land around me and lots of open space. And we have in Flin Flon, we have a lake right in the middle of town. So that's represented in a few of the pieces as well. Or pieces like right outside my house. So like the piece in the back over there, sort of the rocky like Canadian shield that we have. And so I'm able to, if I can get up early enough, go and capture the sunrise out there and see how it hits the rocks. And that's the same area over there, but in the winter, right? And so it's that same place, but the vibe and the feeling of it just changes throughout the seasons, and the seasons are very, very stark. And then again with the lake that's right in the middle of town, on the perfect fall day, right, the mist will come off the lake and the sun will, diffuse through the mist, and it's just like, oh my God, and you want to be with it as long as possible before it all dissipates. So,
right.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like a hit and a miss. It's just like, am I up at the right time? Can I get away from my children? Okay, let's go.
The intentionality that must take then to be able to find not only the subjects, but also the space and the ability to access that, because as you mentioned, you're sort of limited in how you travel around town. How much it strikes me that might add a little bit of pressure to the ability to fully sort of practice your art. Is that something that you then feel in the moment, or is this a bit more of as Caley was saying, there's the sort of like I just go out and I do it and I know exactly kind of what I'm grabbing.
Yeah, and I totally resonate with that feeling. And I was explaining too, with a lot of the pieces in this particular exhibit, I had an infant son who passed away at 25 weeks in 2021, and so a lot of these images are sort of like, I feel very drawn to the type of light that's in a lot of these, because it was sort of the time that he was born in the morning. And so it's a way for me to sort of connect with him. Like, I'm not a very religious person, but it is kind of a spiritual experience when you get to be out and I'm alone and it's quiet, and just being sort of bathed in that light. And it's just like steps from my house. So like, I just feel like all those places now have a connection to him and to me. And it happens like every year, like around the same time of year. So I go to these same places and kind of get to relive that light experience, like, but in different ways. And like, as my grief, changes and molds into new ways, I get to view these places that were once very, very sad places to go to. But I felt like I had to go to them, right? Like, it was a very, I felt like magnetized to the light, and I didn't know what I was going to shoot. I just had to shoot it. So
I was really appreciate you sharing that answer with us, and for your candor. I was about to ask, what is it about photography as a medium that allows you to process the things that have happened in your life and help to capture your story in a way that perhaps another medium like painting or even music might not necessarily be able to capture? What is it about photography that does that for you?
I think because, when you have the equipment and you can just kind of go out, and to take a picture doesn't take very long, right? Like, you can go out, you can do it, you can get multiple shots in a very short amount of time. And then I think the beauty of it is you can come back to it, right? You can come back, you can think about it. I don't edit necessarily right away. Like, sometimes I feel like, I got to get this done. I really want to see this. But for some of those images, especially around my son, I'll take them, and just that experience of photographing was enough at the time. And then I'll maybe come back to it like a week later and look at them and like pull them into Lightroom and kind of go, okay, like, which ones do I resonate with, and then and then like pull up that saturation, like, pull up the contrast, like, what do I want to bring out of that image that spoke to me at the time when I've had a bit of time to sort of settle with it. And I think, if I was doing another medium, I feel like I'd have to be like more attached to it constantly. And again, like, I've got, 2 very rambunctious children and a full-time job, and it's, and I have other projects that I'm trying to wrangle. So I can kind of set it to the side or leave it on the hard drive and come back to it. And then sometimes I'll come back to it multiple times, I'll edit in black and white and see how that feels, or I'll kind of learn a new technique and be like, I wonder if I try that, if that works for this photo or not, So I think the ability to go back and re-edit yourself is really important in photography.
Your fellow photographers are nodding along quite a lot as you are describing all of this. Caley, what is it about photography for you that helps to process things that are in your life, and what does the medium do for you, not only as an artist but as a person living in the Brandon area?
I find it to be very therapeutic, and honestly, even if nobody ever liked my pictures and nobody ever bought one, I would still do it. Like, and when you said that it's the process of actually just being out there and doing it, that's what I get out of it. It's like a form of meditation. It's just quiet and it's peaceful, and then those things just show up. So yeah.
What about for you, Susan? What is it about photography that has captured your sort of creative muse and your means of expression?
Originally, I took photographs so that I could paint them. So I'm a painter, but these photographs, I feel they should be left as photographs, because that's actually what's there. But again, I get in the groove, and it sort of detach myself from the rest of what's going on, and just go out and try to find some interesting modern art, which is kind of what I'm going after with my photographs.
These images that you have made and that Caley has made and Noelle has made are all displayed alongside each other in a really interesting layout, whereby it's not as though Noelle's images are on one wall and Caley's images are on one wall and Susan's images are on one wall. Everybody is kind of amalgamated side by each. What does seeing your images next to their images show you about your art? Does it recontextualize anything for you in any way? What's it like to be showcased alongside these other rural voices, for lack of a better word?
It's great. After all, my machinery is rural, and it fits right in, for instance, with the wheat photograph over there.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly with my farm equipment.
Absolutely. What about for you, Caley? What does seeing your work demonstrated, being presented alongside these others, does it show your art in a new way for you? Does the light hit different, to borrow the theme around here?
It does. At first, when we had everything laid out, and I was looking and thinking, how is this ever gonna come together?
Yeah.
because I mean, the combinations would be to infinity and beyond. So thanks to the lovely people here at the gallery. They did a fantastic job and we all have our own vision of what might fit with something else. But now that it's all up on the wall, I think the images all look incredible side by side. It's neat to see each person's take on the landscape and machinery. Very interesting.
Yeah. The opportunities, Noelle, for this kind of a showcase for rural artists is a little bit rarer perhaps than it is for artists living in a more urban setting. What does it mean for you to have your works demonstrated through the Flash Photographic Festival and to see people engaging with your work from outside of your own locale?
Yeah, no, it is really amazing, and Flash has been very supportive and just. It's been an excellent experience, and I had been asked to do like a local show in Flin Flon, like with the local gallery there, and then I get an email to do this group one, and I was like, am I allowed? Am I allowed to be in James? You know, and I just felt like overly humbled and overly flattered to be like, oh, like someone's noticed who I am and what I do. And again, it's not my full-time job. It is definitely like a passion and a labor of love, and to just to be in a big city, you know, and then my family's here, and I've invited and we're all on spring break as teachers, and so I have lots of teachers from Flin Flon coming through the gallery and getting to see like my work, but also, you know, the work of the two of you side by side. So it's just really special. It's very, very special. And I'm excited for my daughters to come and see their mom do a thing.
Oh, that is so special. Audiences are able to see this exhibit all the way through to almost the end of the month. More details up at our website, classic107.com, and the Classic 107 app. Noelle, Caley, and Susan, thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through this amazing exhibit, Where the Light Fell, at the 210 Gallery.
Thank you.
Thank you.